Swearing away. We're not live yet. Come on. Don't you start playing up on me. Hey, and we're live. Oh, that's what the thing is. Hang on. Because I got my YouTube on another... so I can hear myself twice. Good evening, and welcome to the monthly Mystical Live. Lovely to have you all on board. I'm hoping I'm going to have a few of you on board this evening. Let me just... Oh, yeah, okay. I've just got my... There. So, please do let me know in the comments if you're here. Come and say hello. I'll wait for a couple of minutes just for people to jump on board. And apologies, first of all, for putting poor Sian's last name, I did wrong, on all of the events and everything on YouTube and on Facebook. So my apologies for that. So we do have, this evening, we have the lovely Sian Sibley. I'll get it right now. Sian Sibley is doing a wonderful talk on a guide to running a magical group. So I'm really excited for that one. But before we start, let's hold on for just a couple of minutes just to be... Everybody gets your notifications and blah, blah, the usual. And just to let you know, and I still can't remember which side it is, there is a little scanny code up in that corner. If you scan that code, you will go straight on to my website, which sells amazing magical tools. So if you've got anything that you need making, then please do come and jump on over to the Magic Toolbox UK and have a good look. We've also got a magical learning lab. You can come and join that. It's a nice, really cool. We've done loads of stuff already. We've only been going since January, and we've done lots and lots of magical stuff. So you could always come and have a look at that. Ooh, it's gone quiet. It's not going to go back on, is it? Oh, yes, it is. Okay. I think I've waited long enough. I'll say that again. I think I've waited long enough. So, let's welcome to the stage the lovely Sian Sibley. Yay! I keep meaning to put, there's an applause thing on here. I keep meaning to put it on. Good evening, Sian.
Hello, hi, nice to see you, Jacqueline.
As you can tell, I talk a lot of rubbish on here. But it gives everybody a bit of a laugh, I hope. Let me turn off my little music. It sounds like I've turned it off already, doesn't it? Okay. I don't know why. Hang on. Let me just check. Because I can still hear me going. I've got feedback and I don't know why. Let's just come out of there. And just come out of there, and then we can't go wrong, can we? There we go. Still doing it. Can you hear the feedback, or is it just me?
No, I can't hear anything. I can hear you, but you're quite quiet.
Am I? Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm quiet.
Okay.
Is it? Okay, I'll just stick it closer to my face. Okay, cool. All right, so welcome, Sian. Lovely to see you this evening. Well, let's just have a little chat. So you're going to be doing a talk on a guide to running a magical group. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be chatting about this evening.
Well, I've been running a coven called Dragonoak in South Wales for just over 30 years. And I wanted to write a book that made it clear that you don't have to have any sort of lineage or any sort of initiatory process to run a group, because at the moment we're running out of groups with initiatory backgrounds. So it's very difficult for people who want to work together to form a group, to do it in a safe manner where everybody gets development. And I'm also, it makes me sad sometimes when people that are in non-initiatory groups get frowned upon by people who are in initiatory groups because at the end of the day, there is quite a bit of elitism that goes on sometimes with initiated groups, and I'm from an initiatory tradition, and I look
Yeah,
at
me
it
too.
sometimes and think, ooh, it's quite judgy in some ways. So I wanted to write a book that would allow people to form a group in a safe, coherent manner, but understanding like the pitfalls and everything that goes on in groups, because sometimes a group will form and then it collapses within months because people don't know how to work a group successfully. So it is it's a weird sort of family that you start off when you're working with a group of people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Ah, brilliant. Okay, so we've got good evening, Och Botherer. I'm assuming that's how you say. I don't actually know what your real name is, but whenever I get a comment on here, it will come up as there you go. So that's me. Yeah.
Hi.
So it comes up as that, but I won't keep putting these up. I will save any questions until afterwards, because otherwise it kind of disrupts your talk, doesn't it, if you keep looking at them.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Okay, so I don't know whether you can see the comments on the side or
Yes,
whether
I
you.
can. I can see them. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right then. But I'm not gonna. I won't put them up on the screen in case it puts you off. But if you see me going like that, it's because I'm saying hello or whatever.
Okay.
So I'm not ignoring you. Right. Okay. So without further ado, I shall put my little voice off and let you chat away. Off you go.
Okay. So what happened a couple of millennia ago when I was a young thing, I was looking for a witchcraft group. And in Wales at the time, everybody was in the closet. So the only access that I had to a witchcraft coven at the time was a beautiful coven up in Carmarthen, and also a lady online that was running a coven in America. Okay. And in the end, because of the way things were with my family, I decided that I would study with a lady in America. Now that American tradition is called the NECTW, the New England Traditional Crafts of Traditional Witches. And I studied with the Alchemist branch of that, and it showed me how to do witchcraft. And it was a very good training course, I've got to be honest with you. It was really, really good. However, because they were in the States, I couldn't practice with a group over here because they had a rule that only third degrees could run a group. So what I did was I asked for permission of the head of the tradition to say, look, there's no way I can come back and forth to America. Can I run something here? And fair play to them, they gave me permission. So I started Dragonoak as a first degree, which, like, when you think about it, I didn't know what it was to work with a group. And about 3 years ago, I started writing a book about running covens because I wanted to give back some of the things that I learned in the process of running my coven, and all the mistakes that I made and all the good things that happened as well. And I was trying to think of a really good title for it, and the only title that I could come up with, which I thought was applicable, was Drinking Tea and Herding Spiders. So because if you've ever been with a group, that's exactly what it is, particularly if you're the organizer. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little PowerPoint up now, and we're going to share some of the stuff that I believe is really, really important when you start running a coven. So this is the cover of the book, and the book is out at the end of June this year. So the first thing we're going to talk about is why I wrote it. Okay, so it's 30 years of running a coven, all distilled into one book. It's part practical handbook and part confession booth. Okay, because what a lot of people won't say is that sometimes you can make the most horrific mistakes when you're running a group. And that can be any group, whether it be a mother and toddler group, whether it be a witchcraft group, whether it be any sort of organization that requires a certain amount of social organization. It's quite hard. And the other reason I wrote it was because I wanted to write a book for the people that were like me and really wanted to write to run a group, because I was passionate and I was really driven, but didn't know where to start. Okay. And I wanted it to appeal to people who didn't have that initiatory pathway to understand that you can actually successfully run a group without that. If you're in a tradition, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it gives you the tools and the wherewithal to actually run with magical training in that tradition. But just because you're not initiated doesn't mean you can't do magic. Okay, it doesn't mean that at all. Because if there had been one way of doing magic over the millennia that we've been doing magic, it would have died out years ago, because they would have killed us all, because it's not a popular thing with the patriarchal religions or any other sort of religion, really. So where do you start? Well, the most important thing, I believe, is safeguarding, okay? And it's something that we as occultists and as witches and as pagans, we don't talk about this enough, okay? So questions that you have to ask, okay? Are members safe from each other? And do your policies actually protect people? Okay, now it's really, really important that if you're setting up a group, that your intake process has a clear avenue to report any sort of safeguarding issues. Okay, and I know this sounds like corporate speak, but it's really important, because there have been occasions in the past in different traditions where there has been abuse. And I know it's something, because it's really weird. I talked to one of the ladies that is the secretary of the Pagan Federation, and they are concentrating on this at the moment because of the issues that they've been in the past. So if you're running a group, one of the things that people don't realize is that you need to nominate 2 safeguarding officers, and it's got to be 2, because you have to have one that the people complain to, and then you have another one just in case the person they want to complain to is your safeguarding officer. Okay, so if that safeguarding officer is doing something nefarious, you need another avenue to talk to. Okay, and one of the things that as a coven leader and a group leader you need to understand and do it really, really seriously is that the new laws that have come in over the last 5 years mean that if you don't take action when there is a safeguarding issue, you can be held legally liable by that person, and there is no shut-off date to it. Okay, so they can come back 25 years later and say, this happened to me, you knew about it, and you didn't do anything about it. So you have to be really, really careful. And not knowing that doesn't protect you. Okay, so that's a really, really important one. So what are we actually safeguarding against when we come to coven? Okay, so there are 4 different areas that I believe should be covered in coven etiquette and coven safeguarding. The first one is physical. And one of the things that we do quite badly in our covens is that witchcraft attracts a lot of people, myself included, with a tremendous amount of trauma in their background. Okay, they tend to come because that trauma has opened a hole in them and they're searching for something to fill that hole, and they come to coven to get that. But what people don't understand is that if you are in a particular tradition, or you're doing a particular working that involves touching someone else, it's always good form to make sure that you ask permission before you do that. Because if somebody's got a trauma, perhaps a sexual assault or something like that, they're going to react when you touch them if they don't know you're going to do that, okay? So it's always a good idea before you do the ritual just to chat over what's going to happen and when. So we're going to hold hands at this point and we're going to start to raise some energy. Or I'm going to come up behind you and I'm going to put my hand on your back so that I can feel your, that sort of consent. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a big fuss. One of the things that we are very careful of is I have probably 2 people in my coven that have alcohol issues. So when we are using bread and wine, we don't use wine, we use apple juice. And that's not inconvenient, it's just politeness, because those people can't cope with alcohol. So you make your allowances in your practice, okay? We also have a lady that practices and she's in a wheelchair. So we make sure that we adjust the rituals for her. And if we do outside ritual, we check it out first of all to make sure that that is a safe place for her to go. One of the things that is really, really important is in a good craft circle, people will open up about their private lives. You can't separate private lives from circling and doing magical work. And if somebody opens up and something has happened, then as the safeguarding lead or the safeguarding officer, you need to take action with that or talk to them to help them take action, okay? So then you have the emotional side of it. Now, witchcraft is a very psychological and magical use, particularly occult magical use, is a very psychological apparatus. It opens people up. For example, when we're working with the elements, we are very careful around the work that we do with water, because water equates to the emotional world. And if they're having issues or they've had trauma in the background, it'll open them up. And it's about making sure that they're being contacted after circle, they're being checked on just in case they have had a bit of a catharsis and they don't know what to do with that energy. So that's really, really important. Teaching doesn't involve things like gaslighting. It doesn't involve things like humiliation. It's not about, well, I'm a 3rd degree and you're a 1st degree and I know more than you. It's really not. It shouldn't be about that, okay? So the third one is spiritual safeguarding, and it should be really, really important that people understand that their progress does not rely on compliance with anybody's request. So I know that in the past there have been situations where people have been offered things like initiation in exchange for a sexual favor. That just isn't acceptable. It shouldn't be allowed, okay? So it's really, really important, not only that you practice that, but that you tell your students or tell your circlers that that is the way that you run things, okay? Also, students must be able to leave. You know, it's really weird. I had a conversation a while back with somebody who was saying, well, they shouldn't leave. They should stay with the same tradition. Well, no, that's not the way it is. People will grow and they will get what they need from that tradition and then move on to other things. So it's really important that you let that happen. And the last one is financial. And I do worry about this one. In my opinion, and I'm going to preface that with this, in my opinion, if you're paying £1,000 for a magical qualification, then that qualification should give you something that works in the real world as well, because that's how much a university course is. Do you know what I mean? If you do an open university course, you will get a certificate that works in the real world. Well, there are plenty of real world situations where if you look at it, you can get a qualification maybe in running a group, whereas in magic, we tend to be very focused on the magic. So opening it up to allow people to get qualifications in the outside world. Because let's be honest, a lot of the stuff that we have in magical training courses is available on the internet. If you just read, it's the same stuff, just given a little bit of a fancy logo and a bit of spiel, you know, when people are selling it. So my only bugbear with it is that if somebody is paying £1,000 and they're getting genuine spiritual joy, they're getting elevation, they're getting increase in their spiritual growth, then to them that's worth it. So it's not my business. But what I don't like is when people are priced out of the spiritual market. That really is a problem. So if you are going to charge, then keep people in mind that can't afford that sort of finance, okay? So then we play a little animal game, okay? Because when I get people applying to Dragonoak, very often they will have a personality that's either one of these or is a mix of these, okay? And what I try to do is I try to sort of look at them and then put things in place to help them change the way they are so that they can be successful. So, for example, a bear. I have a lady in my coven who is a bear, and she's wonderful. She is protective, she is strong, but every now and again she becomes overbearing because of that protective nature, okay? So what we do with her is we have strategies in place so that, for example, if we have beginners coming in, she will look after those beginners, because I know that she won't put up with any nonsense for those people who are just starting. But you can have many, many, many different facets of people that are coming in, and they need different types of help. The one that I particularly worry about is one we call the magpie, which is somebody that comes in that's done several other traditions and can't settle And it's about trying to get that person in a place where they actually settle and do the magical work. Okay. So we've all seen the fox. The fox is the person, and they can be male or female, that want to come in and want to socialize rather than study. So with them, you would try and get them to organize things like, if you've got a ritual coming up, they would be the organizer for the ritual. And that would give that focus to that social part of their personality. So it's really important that you look at people that are applying to be in your group and how they fit into the demographic of your group. Okay. So, there's more there. So we operate on a questionnaire basis. So we send a questionnaire out to anybody that wants to circle with us, and it'll say things like, how do you perceive the magical world? So just how do you think magic works? What does it do to your world? And it's really interesting that in Dragonoak, we have a lot of scientists. We've got a lot of people that come from a science background. And even there's this re-engagement with the enchanted world, which is wonderful. How do you engage with practice? Are you a person that can dedicate the time you need to do the practice? So if you're doing meditation, or maybe you're casting circle, or maybe you're learning to do some sort of sigillation or something like that, can you give the time over to that? Or have you got really big family commitments? Because what tends to happen if somebody comes in and then they feel, because we never put pressure on them to do the work in a certain time, it's how they put sort of pressure on themselves, and then they start feeling guilty because they're not doing it as well as they would like. So it's about getting them to understand that this is a study that takes years. It really does. It always makes me smile that the idea of a year and a day in traditional witchcraft doesn't really work if you teach people properly. It takes them years. It really does. What do you prefer, structure or flexibility? Are you a person who likes to know well in advance what the calendar is? That's fine. We can do that. How do you recharge your batteries between rituals? Are you a person that doesn't do that? Because if you are, your stress level is going to go up through the roof. And what's your approach to learning new work, new spells, that sort of thing? So they are the things that you need to do to get that group working. So if you've started in a group, how do you know you're in the right group? So it's things like, does your practice give you joy? That's an easy answer. When you come out of a circle, do you feel elevated? Do you feel better? Do you feel that you've enjoyed it? Okay. Do you share a moral compass? Are you allowed to say no, even if it's against your tradition? So that's one is sometimes something that people struggle with. Okay. They tend to worry about saying no because the high priest or the high priestess or the leader of your coven has said that that's something you're going to do. But no, you have a right to say, no, I don't want to do that. Okay. And do you get input into the group plans? If you're a member of the group, do you get to talk about the ritual? Do you get to change it? Maybe put suggestions in about how things could be done better? Or is it just set in stone and you have to carry on? Okay. So it's important that people understand that being in a coven or being in a group is not about enacting things in a certain way. If you're in a tradition, yes, you have to follow the tradition's way of doing things because you've accepted going into that tradition. But if you're setting up a group yourself, or if you're involved in setting up a group, you can look at what the best is out there and try and incorporate it into your own practice and see what works for you. Because a lot of groups now tend to do the fuck around and find out method, which is where they'll try something, and if it works, they keep it. If it doesn't work, then they'll put it aside and do something else. So that's really important. And one of the things that is really, really fundamental to starting a group is deciding what sort of group you want. Do you want to be a social group? Do you want to be a ritual group? Do you want to be a study group that has a ritual aspect? And I find that the best way to do it is to mix all three together to sort of have that study aspect. One of the things that we do in Dragonoak is we have in the 4 weekends of the month, we will have one initiate study night, one student study night, one rest night, and one whole coven study night. So it's about getting together and working together. And those nights can't be serious. You have to have some fun doing it. Otherwise, you won't come the next time. So, for example, we will use things like games. One of the really enjoyable ones that we did probably about 6 months ago now was we were practicing dowsing. We were learning to improve our dowsing. And what I did was I split the guys into 2 groups. And one group took an object and hid it, and the other group had to find it by using the dowsing crystal. And they really, really enjoyed that. They thought that was really good, and they had great fun, and they were teasing each other as they were going through about how bad people's dowsing was. So it's about making sure that those things are good fun to do. You will have serious rituals. You will. Like our Samhain ritual is always tears and hugs and sadness and joy in that your relatives come and visit and we have a little chat. But you will also have rituals where things go horribly, horribly wrong. So, and talking about going horribly wrong, when you start running a group, as a leader, you are going to make mistakes, and I made plenty of mistakes. And it's about looking at the mistake that you make and seeing if you can either put things in place so that doesn't happen again, or look at the way that you handled it and think about how you would have felt if you'd handled it like that, if your leader had handled it like that. So it's a hard one. Being in a coven is like being in some sort of huge weird family, okay? It's awesome fun, and it's spiritually massively uplifting. But the most important part is that you are together and working as a group. And there's loads and loads of different suggestions in the book about how you can use that group work together. Jackie, do you have any questions?
Oh, right, we're back. Hang on. Can you hear? Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I keep forgetting to put this down.
Shall I
Yes,
take this
I did.
down?
Oh yeah, let me. Oh. Okay. I didn't realise you could put it down as well. That's cool. Right. Yes, that was really good. Thank you so much for that. It's given me a lot to think about, and I'll have a chat with you after if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
That's actually, you've just hit a few nails on the head. But yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. So, oh my God,
I think the thing that stops people, because a lot of people that I talk to say, oh, I'd love to be in a coven. And I'm like, well, either find one that's around you that you would want to go into, or there's nothing stopping you from starting a circle yourself. You've just got to understand that you are moving through the syllabus of your coven at the same time as the people that are with you. And sometimes if you're being the leader, that's difficult. You know, one of the things I found really difficult in the beginning was that as we were moving through, I'd studied for about 4 years before I was allowed to run the coven. But even then, you're still, like, 4 years is not that long. And you're running and you're dynamic. You will always have people that want to be a leader. And when you're starting your group, that can be quite hard because you're butting heads quite a bit. And you just got to find out ways of getting around that so that people feel challenged but not oppressed, I suppose the word is. But what we found was that we work in a project way, particularly the initiates. So we will pick a project, like at the moment we're working on ecological witchcraft, and we will work around that and working with the land and doing that sort of thing. And we work together, and different people will bring in different strands to that. Like I've got one lovely girl called Lucy that she wrote a fantastic ritual around Morris dancing, where we were working for green technology, and the energy raiser was the Morris dancing that we had in the middle of it. And it's worked beautifully. The spell absolutely nailed it, because we've got a massive increase in the area that we did the spell in green technologies, which is what we were working for. So it's about finding people's different strengths. And like, I've got people in the group with me that are fantastic artists. Now, I'm about as artistic as a foot. I'm useless, okay? I can sing, I can write reasonable poetry, and I'm okay at writing. But these people are fantastic artists. So if we're doing talisman work then I rely on them to sort of produce the talismans. And it's about looking at different strengths. Yeah. And then the opposite is true as well. You'll find that some people will have particular weaknesses, and it's about bolstering those people up. It's not about taking the piss out of them or making fun of those limitations. It's about bolstering them and helping them overcome those things. And one of the wonderful things about running a group is that, like, I've watched some of my girls particularly go from, I've got one girl called Carrie. She's gone from working in Lush, behind the counter in Lush. She's been with me now for about 12 years. And with everybody encouraging her, she's learned to drive, which she was petrified of. And she's now a medical herbalist. So she's running her own medical herbalist.
That's cool.
So it's that as well, pushing people to be the best version that they can be.
That's the thing, yeah. That's to me, in any magical group that you ever do is always about the community and the people that you're with, yeah. And it is about, and people, everybody's different. And you can tell who's who, like you say, the bear and all the rest of it. I didn't actually think about putting it into animals, but yeah, it's given me something to think about.
There's a big guide on that in the book, and it's got all the
that's quite funny
in there as well. But
it's quite funny.
It's trying to look at your group, in the long term and then in the short term as well, because you can't concentrate on what you're going to be doing 10 years down the line when you're still together, when you're cocking up left, right and centre on the study night days. It is about, it's a big mix as well.
Yeah. And like you say, everybody brings in their own strengths, so like, I found in all the things that I've done, you can tell who's this and who's that and who's that and who's good at that and who's good at that, and it brings it all together nicely, I think.
I think one of the problems that go on.
And also I think when you do that, it encourages the ones that wouldn't normally. So like, for instance, the drama of a ritual or whatever, I think particularly in the group that I'm in, it's very drama. Well, for me, I love it to be as drama as you can get it, because it gives more impact, in my opinion.
That's it, yeah.
And the more drama you can put in, and I think when other people see that drama and that impact that it's bringing in, the energy that it's bringing in, it encourages them to do the same. And
absolutely, absolutely. And it's really what I love about it is, you can always tell when somebody is joyful. We have you probably have the same practice at full moon. We do a drawdown and they just speak with the voice of the goddess, and it always makes me laugh, because sometimes they will say things and you just think, what the hell was that? I don't understand that at all. And then you look over in the corner of the circle in the temple, and someone's bawling their eyes out, because it was for them. It wasn't for you. It was for them. It was to help them. So then you're like, oh, right, okay. Because sometimes it isn't about you. It's about them, or it's about something that they're working on. And that the amount of we had a situation on Sunday. We did our Beltane ritual on Sunday, and it was open ritual, and we had a little girl there that she for years she's had a massive battle with trauma, and she was going through. She'd done a plant spirit initiation with the rose, which had sort of really opened up all her stuff, and she'd sat on the side in the ritual. And all of the girls in my company just went over and sat with her. And she sent me a message then about 2 hours later, because she'd been really upset and really sad. And she said to me, I've been through this up and down process for probably between 10 and 15 years, she said. And this is the first time it's ever been met with love. And I thought, oh my God, that's fantastic. You know,
that's
so
lovely.
it is really about how you can gel those people together. And believe me, I have different personalities in my group, and they all do certain things really badly and certain things really well. You know, if you hand one of my main priests, if you give him a drum, oh God. He got to the stage at one point where we took him to a workshop and the poor bugger ended up with a triangle. Just couldn't keep a rhythm at all. It's like, I said to his wife, oh God, love, you must have suffered. But yeah, I think the basics of it is finding people with enough passion and enough drive to start it. And then once you've got that going, it's about just molding it into what you want. But it's that first, like one of the things I try and cover in the book is that first meeting. You know, you've got a group of people that you want to circle and do magic together, and they don't know each other from Adam. So I put in like a couple of icebreaker games and that sort of stuff with a particular theme to them, just to see if they can sort of get together.
Just saying, in certain magical groups that wouldn't work. I'm just thinking about certain things that I'm in and I'm thinking, nah. I would just get laughed back out the room, I think, if I started doing games. But hey, it sounds great for what you do.
I'm honest, playing games sometimes is the best teaching method you can have. Because when
certainly is. But
stupid and enjoying that feeling, they learn more.
It's food for thought, I must say. I'm not sure Well, I'll have a think about it. that. Yeah, that's really interesting. What was I going to say? Yeah, so some of the stuff you're coming out with, like in your coven, reminds me of mediumship in a way, because the way that you say that whatever the lady said wasn't meant for her, it was meant for the little girl or the lady in the corner, it's very much like mediumship, you know.
I would say it's a little bit more like the voodoo practice of being ridden by the gods, that you have no control over what comes out, and then it's
kind of similar.
Yeah. We do have a couple of mediums in the group, so it probably does apply to them as well.
Yeah. Oh, I keep getting that weird feedback. Oh, that was so good though. Thank you so much. That was really interesting. Really interesting. And I may have to. Next time I'm going to run my own magical group. I'm going to get the book anyway. So yeah, just because I need to know all the rest of the other stuff. So I will put your book in the description.
Brilliant.
And you've got which one is coming out in June? Is it this one or is it the other one?
This one is coming out in June. I've got two other ones that I
already
working with plant spirits. We work a lot with plant spirits.
Yes.
Right now. Yes. Yeah. And ecological witchcraft, which will piss everybody off. So,
well, I definitely want to learn more about the plant stuff. If you want to come back on again and talk about the plant stuff, that sounds amazing. Definitely. What you told me about the frankincense and everything has given me food for thought. But do you know, I have to say, as a ceremony magician, it's like, oh God, what's she saying? I have to change something. And that's
but the truth of the matter is like really we said earlier on, if the plant becomes extinct, you're going to have to do it anyway.
We'll save that one definitely for the next talk, because otherwise we'll go off on a tangent and we'll be talking about plants. But yes, hey, so if you're watching now, or if you're on the replay, please say hello, please do comment, and we're going to have, I'm assuming now that we're going to have Sian back on again, and we're going to be talking about plants and things. Give us a quick teaser on the plant situation. I'm just assuming that you're going to do it now.
We do a lot of work with a method by somebody called Charabel, he wrote a book called Grimoire Sympathia, and he talks about using plant spirits, and what he does is he gets sigils and works with them on the astral level. Now, I like that, but I also like the physical, working with them as tinctures, working with them as people, really. And it's about developing that relationship and listening to what they can teach us about the world. And it is really, really interesting. And one of the things that I find fascinating is both the similarity in experience and the difference in experience that people have with different plants. Because you can get similar things happening and you can get very different things happening, but it doesn't invalidate it, because if you think about it, if you're talking to a person, you won't get the same conversation from a person as the next person along will. So if you think of them as people, and it's about, one of the things that we are very keen to look at is the anthropocentrism that's in things like paganism, in witchcraft, in ceremonial magic, and how we can work around looking to get people to understand that the frankincense that you're offering to your spirit is probably not just an offering, it probably is an intermediary spirit in connecting to that spirit. And that's why it's so useful to you. But it's just a case of forming the relationship then with another plant spirit and seeing if you can get them to act as the intermediary with the spirit as well. Because one of the things that, getting people to understand that these dudes have been with us far, far longer than we've been here. So they have their own spiritual development. They have their own way of connecting with the universe, far, far superior to ours. So it's about that understanding that they're not just things to offer. They are people in their own right.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. So I'm going to put all your books, I will put in the description after this stream. Well, probably not after the stream, but at some point, either tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm off to Wales tomorrow. I'm off to the occult conference in Wales tomorrow. I'm going to sell all my magical goodies.
Lovely.
So if you're at the Welsh Occult Conference tomorrow, the 15th of May, 2026, I shall see... Well, it'll be the 16th of May, 2026. I shall see you there. Yay! Right. Anyway, enough plugging on that one.
Well, it's a fabulous conference. It's a really lovely conference, that one.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Right. And also, if you've got any other things that you're doing talks anywhere, give us... well, you can tell me now if you like. Are you off anywhere doing talks and things?
At the moment, I'm like a bad smell. I seem to be everywhere.
Nice.
I'm doing a lot of talks on ecological paganism. My next one is up in North Wales Pagan Fest. It's a big pagan camp in North Wales. I've got another one then I'm doing Ritual to Hecate, and another one, a Medusa workshop in Pagan Tribal Gathering Camp as well. So, yeah, I do a lot of work with Medusa and victims of sexual assault. So it's, funnily enough, I've just written a book for Moon Books in the Pagan Portal series on Medusa. So I've been very busy with the old writing.
You've been very busy beaver. So
That's what text to me.
If you text me later with all that information, and I will shove it onto the descriptions. Thank you so much, Sian, for joining me. And we will have a look in the diary for when you're free for the next talk. That's it. Once I've reeled you in, you can't actually get away from me. Just saying.
That's fine.
Right, lovely to see you. Stay online. I'm going to put you in the little waiting room. Stay there, though. All right, I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Lots of love and light. See you in a bit. Well, wasn't that interesting? Now, there's a few things on there that I was... gave me food for thought. It certainly did. And, yes, because, I don't know if anybody has ever thought about running their own magical group. It's not an easy task, is it? So get her book if you want to run your own magical group, because you're going to need it. Trust me. Everybody's different, and everybody's got their own way of doing things. Yeah. So, yes. Thank you so much for joining once again on the monthly Mystical Live, and it's never monthly, but hey, I say this every time. And we've got another one next week. So we've got Wendy Harris is going to redo the one that we couldn't do last week for so Madame Blavatsky's Theosophical Years. So please come and join us for that, because that's going to be really interesting. And fingers crossed we've got no whirring of her laptop this time. That was quite funny. If you haven't seen the video, check out the video on the lives there. It was quite funny. We just talked about all sorts of rubbish, so it was great. But anyway, yeah, so that's next week. Thanks again to Sian Sibley. Like I said, all this stuff we'll put in the description, all her lovely books and where she's going to be. I think she's going to add that as well. And I shall see you all next time on the Monthly Mystical Live. Thank you so much. Love and light, and I'll see you all soon. Have a fabulous evening. Bye for now.